Frustration. As you see, I'm taking deep breaths myself. When you're in a frustrating situation and your goal is to grow and your goal is to be successful and your goal is to move throughout the ranks and to show and to prove that you have what it takes in your job or in your classroom, learning how to deal with frustration is a key. Learning how to deal with frustration in the moment that you're frustrated allows you to continue to work on yourself, as many of these motivational minutes address, allows you to work on yourself so that way at the end of the day you come out on top because you're working on how to deal with your frustration. Now, it's never good to have a conversation or to have a dialogue when you're frustrated, because when you do, the mouth sometimes says what the heart feels, if that makes sense. So how you truly feel about a scenario may come up, or how you truly feel about a person may come out by accident if you're frustrated and if you comment in the moment that you're frustrated. As I've been learning as a budding executive here in the entertainment industry, and I've got over 155 direct employees and another 50 or 55 indirect employees, so almost 200 people that I oversee on a daily basis, I'm really working on myself to make sure that in times where I do get frustrated, I'm human, I'll admit it. There are times where I may get frustrated or may get annoyed about something, but in those moments, we have to make sure that as we're growing in management and growing in leadership, that we try not to comment when a situation is emotionally charged. That we try not to jump to a rash decision or to a rash judgment when a situation is emotionally charged. And sometimes that's challenging because someone says something, or you feel like you've been disrespected, or someone comes at you aggressively, or someone says something that you don't like, and we're human. So sometimes as human beings, we have a quick quip that we have to say the next phrase, or we have to be the next one to talk, or we have to speak over the person that is speaking to us incorrectly, or we have to make sure we get our point across and cut somebody off to show our dominance in the conversation or our dominance in the situation. Know that effective communication doesn't need that. Now, this is way easier said than done, and as I said, I'm still working on me to be able to do and execute what I'm talking about in today's Periscope, but effective communication, paying attention to the details, listening, asking questions, if you do those things, then the conversation at hand shouldn't require you to get frustrated or to stoop to the level where the emotion is taking the conversation. Now, in a scenario where you're trying to correct an action, or you're trying to coach a behavior, and someone gets excited or hype with you, that's one of the moments where, honestly, especially if you're a leader of people, you say, okay, you know what? This conversation doesn't seem to be going the direction that I want it to go. We're here to gather information so I can have a better understanding as to the situation at hand, or to your side of the situation at hand, but it seems as though things are getting a little out of hand. So you know what? We're going to table this conversation and have it another day. And then you do just that. You table it, you make an appointment another day to finish the conversation when everybody's not so amped up or not on the defensive. A lot of times, people's default is to go to the defensive. And that's just, look, that's natural. No one likes to be told that they're doing the wrong thing. No one likes to be told that they're not doing the correct thing. No one likes to, if they think that they're doing what they're supposed to do and completing a task based on the expectations that they are understanding their expectations are, if something is said contrary, the challenge is that automatically people go on the defensive. And as leaders, and as budding leaders, it's up to us to try to execute communication in such a way that doesn't put people on the defensive. And again, if they start to get amped up and they start to get hyphy, I guess you could say, if they start to get all bent out of shape, or if they start to show distress or anguish, maybe it's time to pause the conversation. Maybe it's time to let them know, you know what? Let's continue this another time. It doesn't seem like you're in the best of place right now for us to continue this conversation. Because when you're frustrated as a leader that someone on your team didn't do something correctly or may not have executed something correctly, as good of a actor or actress as you may be, it's hard to mask your frustration in the moment. It's hard to mask your frustration when you are in the midst of the situation. You feel like you have to get your point across. It's hard to mask the frustration when the person you're talking to is at a nerve and you really feel like you have to say something to get your point across. It takes a concerted, specific effort to pause a conversation and come back to it. Same thing goes if any of you guys that are tuning into the Periscope, same thing goes if you're married. If you and your wife are married, or you and your spouse are married, and you're having a disagreement, or your wife does something that you don't like, or your husband does something that you don't like, and you want to have that conversation, it's always better to take notes on what happened. So that way, as I mentioned yesterday, when you address the situation, you address the behavior, not the person. Because in the midst of a frustrated conversation, people have a tendency to accidentally belittle, demean, speak out of turn about the person that they're talking to. And it's not something that happens on purpose. It's just back and forth conversation. You're heated, they're heated. You say something you don't mean. They say something they don't mean. But you as the leader, it's more damaging because if you say it as their leader, then they may lose faith in you. They may lose confidence in you, and they may lose trust in you because you said something that you didn't mean because you were frustrated. Now, again, we're human, so to ask us to do superhuman feats and to ask us not to get frustrated, I don't think that's fair. But I do challenge us to step it out when we're frustrated and really take a step back and look at ourselves to see how can we calm down before we address our frustration. To see how can we articulate accurately how we feel. Because frustration is a feeling that you have based on events that happen in your day within communication or lack thereof. So how can you make sure that as you take that step back, you step it out to really look at what is the issue at hand, and when I address this issue, how do I address it to make sure that I don't offend anyone? To make sure that my point is heard and that the reason of my frustration comes across without the emotion of the frustration. You want to make sure that the reason of the frustration comes out without the emotion attached to the frustration coming out. So I really challenge you to step it out and work on the moments that you're frustrated. Really take that step back to see and analyze the situation so that whatever you say can be said with love, filled with grace, so that way you know how to speak to the person that you're dealing with. If you're in high school or if you're an adult talking to your parents and your parents make you frustrated, the same thing applies. Maybe you ask your parents in that scenario and say, you know what? I'm kind of frustrated about such and such. I'd rather not talk about it right now. Are you okay if we talk about it in half an hour? So I have time to cool down so I can accurately express what I'm feeling. I think those are healthy conversations. I think those are healthy things that we can do to really help make sure that our frustration doesn't dictate how we communicate what's wrong. So today's Motivational Minute, as I said, I challenge you to step it out, work on yourself, look at yourself, and look and see what you do and how you respond when you're frustrated. See if you can table a conversation for later, so that way, in the midst of your frustration, your emotion, your heart is beating fast, you're annoyed, you're angry, you're mad, you're frustrated. I challenge you to step it out so that way you have time to settle down. As the Hulk says, you won't like me when I'm angry. But when he's calm and when he's Bruce Banner, he's able to communicate what's wrong. He's able to communicate how he's feeling. So I really challenge you guys to step it out. Take that breath. Let your heartbeat slow down. Let your feelings subside. so that way you can adequately express and articulate what's wrong and what caused the frustration. So hopefully as you express that, you can help change the behavior from the person that you're speaking to in the future. So for today's Motivational Minute, it was on frustration. Thank you, wifey, for joining. I'm right outside. I'll be in a second. But for today's Motivational Minute on frustration, thank you for joining. Remember, words bring life. Speak them into existence. Your greatness is awaiting. Check out my website, danielpferguson.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to come and speak to your groups. I'd love to be there to be your career coach, help you with interview prep, resume building, dress for success, one-on-one career coaching. These Motivational Minutes are just the tip of the iceberg. When we meet, when you sign up for my services online, that gives me that time to really get to know you, to really help you toward your career goals. I'm here for you. I'm a servant leader. When you succeed, I succeed, and I would love that. Once a month, one of you on Periscope is going to get the opportunity to get a free session with me. So that way you get a free opportunity to get some one-on-one career coaching with me. My team will be able to help you with the interview prep, as well as the resume review, dress for success, the whole shebang. You'll get one of those extreme packages. But check out my website, danielpferguson.com. Spread the word. I want to come and motivate your youth groups, your faith-based organizations, your high schoolers, your college students, your entry-level employees. Call me. I got you covered. Let's do this. Let's go to greatness together, because it is achievable. All it takes is a little motivation and a little details, excellence, everything I've been speaking about in my Motivational Minutes. Have a wonderful night. I'm headed in to see the family. I'm so excited. I haven't seen them all day. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.